You've been waiting, crying behind closed doors, praying harder than ever before, and yet nothing seems to shift. You wonder, is Allah hearing me? You start doubting if things will ever change. But what if the waiting isn't a delay? What if it's divine alignment? What if you're not being ignored, but quietly, beautifully being positioned? In this video, we'll explore 7 subtle, often overlooked signs that Allah is preparing a woman, maybe you, for a blessing far bigger than you imagined. Not superficial motivation, not cliches. This is for the woman who's done pretending, for the one who's exhausted but still believes. If you see even one of these signs, know this: your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Sign 1. When what you once desperately wanted fades from your heart. There was a time when it consumed you. You cried for it, begged for it, built your dreams around it. That one person, that one thing, that one hope. But now, it barely touches your heart. Not with pain, not with longing. Just stillness. A kind of emotional quiet. And that stillness isn't failure. It's not loss. It's Allah loosening your grip. You didn't let go. Your heart simply grew past it. Because sometimes Allah gently removes our attachment to what we thought was everything to make room for what's actually meant for us. That quiet shift, it's not emptiness, it's divine preparation. Sign 2. When old guilt resurfaces without warning, you're fine, or so it seems. You smile when people talk to you. You laugh at the right moments. You stay busy, productive, always moving. You tell yourself you've moved on, that you're okay now. But then, out of nowhere, it hits. A memory you thought you'd buried deep. A mistake you prayed would never resurface. A sin that made your heart ache, but one you thought you had already forgotten. You're driving, scrolling your phone, folding laundry, and suddenly you feel a tightness in your chest. Your stomach turns, your throat clenches. That moment, that choice, that person, that season rushes back like a wave, uninvited, unexpected, overwhelming, and with it, shame, regret, self-blame. You think, why am I thinking about this again? You wonder, didn't I already ask for forgiveness? Didn't I already move past this? You want to shake it off, distract yourself, but your heart won't let you. This is not anxiety, it's not a breakdown, and no, it's not a sign that you're spiritually failing. It's something far more sacred. It's a divine invitation. When Allah is ready to elevate a servant, He first purifies the vessel that He will pour His blessing into. And sometimes purification doesn't look like light. It looks like darkness resurfacing. It looks like tears you didn't expect. It looks like guilt you thought you buried. But this is not to destroy you. It's to refine you. Because before Allah places something precious into your life, a new beginning, a deeper connection, a long-awaited blessing, He softens your heart. He breaks the pride. He clears the residue of your past so that your soul can hold the weight of what's coming. And that discomfort you're feeling, that lump in your throat, that whisper of return to me, it's not punishment, it's mercy. It's Allah telling you, you're not forgotten. I haven't given up on you. But before I pour into your hands, I need to clean what's already in them. Maybe what you're remembering wasn't as small as you made it out to be. Maybe it hurt someone. Maybe it distanced you from Allah. Maybe it hardened your heart more than you realized. But if you're being reminded now, it's not to humiliate you. It's so you can return to that place, not to relive it, but to redeem it. To say, Ya Allah, I remember, and I regret, and I return to you. To make sincere tawbah, even if you've done it before, because maybe this time your heart is in a place it wasn't back then. And that is when transformation begins. So don't run from the memory. Sit with it. Let it break you in the most beautiful way. Because that brokenness, that's when your soul becomes soft clay And from soft clay, Allah molds something new, something whole, something worthy of carrying the next blessing. You're not being haunted, you're being healed. Let it come. Let it humble you. Let it cleanse what the world cannot see. Because long before the world watches your blessing arrive, Allah watches your heart prepare to receive it. And He never brings the gift without first preparing the soul that will carry it. Sign 3. When relationships end without explanation. People start drifting, not all at once, not with big arguments or dramatic exits, just slowly, quietly. The texts take longer to come, the calls grow less frequent, plans get postponed, then cancelled, then forgotten, and suddenly you're left wondering, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Why won't they just say it? It's confusing, it's painful. You try to piece it together, analyze every interaction, read between lines that no one wrote. But the truth is, sometimes no one will tell you why they left. They just do, and in that silence, your heart aches. You replay conversations, you blame yourself. You wonder if you were too much or not enough. You start shrinking yourself, trying to fit into spaces you were never meant to stay in. But what if this isn't punishment? What if this is mercy in its quietest form? Sometimes the most loving thing Allah can do for you is remove people who no longer fit the future He's preparing for you, even if your heart hasn't caught up yet. Because He sees what you don't. He hears the words said behind your back. He knows the intentions tucked behind every smile. He sees the way your soul bends in their presence, the way your light dims just a little, the way you tolerate what you shouldn't, because you're afraid of being alone. So He steps in, not always with a storm, sometimes just with space, distance, disconnection, a slow, silent unraveling. And yes, it hurts. It feels like rejection, it feels like loss, but it's actually realignment, it's preparation, it's divine editing. Because when Allah subtracts, He's not just taking, He's making space. Space for better conversations, space for honest connections, space for people who see you without you having to prove yourself, space for hearts that remember Him with you, space for healing, for peace, for elevation. You might miss who they were to you. You might mourn what you thought you had. You might hold on a little too long, scroll through old photos, reread old texts, convince yourself it wasn't that bad. But deep down, the connection wasn't feeding you anymore. It wasn't calling you higher. It was heavy, conditional, fragile, and your soul was starving for something real. So Allah, in His mercy, pried your fingers from what you couldn't let go of so He could give you what you truly needed. You think the silence means you were forgotten, but it was in that silence that everything began to shift. Because when Allah writes a new chapter, He doesn't ask permission from the old one to end. He just closes it and waits for you to trust that He's still the author. So let it hurt, let it cleanse, let it leave. You don't need to chase what Allah has released. You don't need to explain yourself to people who were never meant to stay. Instead, hold the space that's been created. Protect it, honor it, and wait with patience and trust for what He's about to write next. Because the same hand that allowed them to leave is the one preparing what's meant to arrive. And when it does, you'll understand you were never being abandoned. You were being made ready. Sign 4. When life is still hard, but your heart responds differently. The tests haven't stopped. They still come, sometimes back to back, sometimes when you least expect them. They interrupt your plans, shift your routines, shake your comfort. But something has changed. You have. You've stopped reacting in panic. You've stopped spiraling into, why me? You've stopped replaying every hardship like a broken record in your mind. And more than anything, you've stopped broadcasting your pain to the world, hoping that someone, anyone, will make it feel lighter. You've grown quieter, but not defeated. Now you pause, you take a breath. You look up, and even through the tears, you whisper, Alhamdulillah. Not because it doesn't hurt, not because you're pretending it's easy, but because deep down you're beginning to understand. This isn't giving up, this is growing up. You're starting to recognize that not every battle requires noise, that not every struggle needs to be shared to be validated, that not every trial is a punishment. You've come to realize that patience, real patience, isn't passive. It isn't just sitting still and waiting, it's active trust. It's a silent strength that whispers, my Rabb is aware. This too has a purpose. There's care in what I can't yet see. You've started noticing how the storm doesn't shake you the way it used to. You still feel the winds. You still get drenched. But your roots, they hold firm. You bend, but you don't break. And that quiet resilience is one of the clearest signs that Allah is preparing something for you. Because before the gift comes, the growth comes. Before the breakthrough, He teaches you how to bear the pressure. Before the dua is answered, He makes you into the kind of person who can carry the answer well. And that's why your environment may not have changed, but you have. Your heart has become softer, your ego quieter, your faith deeper, your sabr steadier. You used to crave escape. Now you seek understanding. You used to ask for ease. Now you ask for strength. And Allah sees it. Every time you hold your tongue, every time you fight the urge to complain, every time you offer a quiet Alhamdulillah when your chest is still heavy. Because sabr isn't silence for the sake of pride. It's silence rooted in certainty. Certainty that your Rabb is not unaware. Certainty that pain is not pointless. Certainty that every test carries the fingerprints of divine wisdom, even when it doesn't come with an explanation. And who does Allah stay closest to? Those who carry their trials with grace, those who bow to Him in the dark, those who trust Him more than they trust what they see. You're not the same person you were when the tests first came. And that is the real sign. Because one of the clearest indicators that something good is coming is when you change before your circumstances do. So keep carrying your sabr like armor. Keep walking with faith, even when the road is unclear. Keep whispering, Alhamdulillah, even when your eyes are wet. Because He's watching, and He's near. And He never lets a heart that turns to Him stay empty for long. Sign 5. When your du'as shift from desperation to clarity. You used to ask for anything that felt good, whatever glittered caught your eye, whatever brought comfort, excitement, or ease. That's what your hands reached out for in du'a. You asked for people, opportunities, success, applause. You asked for things to work out your way, in your time, and you truly believed that if it felt right, it must be right. But now, something has shifted, something deep and quiet and holy. Your du'as have changed. They've slowed down, they've deepened. You're no longer rushing to the end of your du'a as if Allah needs to be convinced quickly. You're no longer listing wants like a wish list, hoping He'll fulfill them all exactly how you imagine. Now there's a pause. Now there's surrender. Now there's wisdom behind your words. You say, Ya Allah, protect me from what I want if it's not what I need. Ya Allah, I don't want anything that takes me away from you. Ya Allah, if it's not written for me, then remove the desire from my heart gently. Ya Allah, I want what brings me closer to you, even if it comes wrapped in hardship. And just like that, you've crossed a threshold. This is transformation. Because growth is not always about changing how you speak to people. Sometimes it's about how you speak to Allah, what you ask Him for, what you don't ask Him for anymore, what you trust Him to choose for you, because you're no longer obsessed with writing your own script. There was a time when you begged Him to keep certain people in your life, people who only brought you further from who you were meant to become. You used to pray that he would open doors, not realizing they led to rooms that would dim your soul. You cried when he withheld something, not knowing that if he gave it, it would become the very thing that breaks you. But now, your du'as come with a disclaimer. Only if it's good for me. Only if it keeps me close to you. Only if it strengthens my deen, not my ego. Because you've lived enough to know, not everything that glitters is a gift. Not every delay is a punishment. And not every silence from above is neglect. Sometimes it's protection. You're no longer begging for what looks good. You're asking for what is good. Good for your akhirah, good for your heart, good for your iman. And even when the answer is no or not yet or simply silence, you don't unravel the way you used to. You don't panic. You don't accuse, you just breathe and say, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Because you know now, what's meant for you will find you, not because you fought for it, but because you trusted for it. And what isn't meant for you will pass, not because you weren't good enough, but because your Rabb is too merciful to give you something that would poison your soul just because your heart temporarily craved it. This shift in dua, it isn't small. It's the beginning of a new life. A life that's not driven by desperation, but by devotion. A life where you don't just ask Allah for things, you ask Him for clarity, contentment, and closeness. And when your du'as change, your life begins to. Not always externally, not always in obvious ways, but internally, where it matters most. Everything starts to align. Everything softens, everything strengthens, because you're not just asking for life to go your way, you're asking for it to go His way, and that's when true peace begins. Sign 6. When temporary joys stop impressing you, the thrill of validation, the chase for approval, the addiction to being seen, it used to be enough. A like, a comment, a compliment. The applause of strangers, the recognition of peers. It gave you a quick high, a sense of worth, even if just for a moment. It made you feel like you mattered, but now it doesn't land the same. Not because you're broken, not because you've failed to keep up, but because something within you has started to shift. Your soul is evolving, and what once felt like nourishment now feels like noise. You scroll, and you feel emptier. You share and feel more exposed than empowered. You hear the praise, and instead of joy, you feel a strange hollowness. This isn't sadness, it's clarity, it's detachment, it's the early stages of awakening. What once lit you up now drains you. The same spaces that once made you feel alive now make you feel scattered. You realize how much energy it costs to be on all the time, to be consumed with how you appear instead of who you are, to chase approval from people who don't even know your soul or care to. And so, you begin to pull away. Not dramatically, not out of bitterness, but gently, quietly, intentionally, because the noise is too loud and your soul is craving something deeper, something still, something sacred. You start asking different questions. Is this real? Is this pleasing to Allah? Is this helping me grow, or just keeping me distracted? You're not bitter, you're not envious. You just don't want to build a life on things that collapse the moment attention fades. And yes, this new phase, it can feel lonely. You start noticing fewer notifications, fewer invitations, less inclusion in the circles you once felt seen in. And at first, you question it. You wonder if you're being left behind. You wonder if you're missing out, but you're not. You're being set apart. Because before Allah gives you what's sacred, He gently, sometimes painfully, weans your heart from what's superficial. He knows your heart can't carry both, the weight of divine purpose and the addiction to worldly attention. So He separates them, Slowly, mercifully, the friendships fade, the applause stops, the stage gets quiet, and in the silence, you start hearing something else. The whispers of your soul, the remembrance of your Lord, the truths you used to drown in distraction. It's in this hidden space, this quiet refining, that real connection begins. Not the kind that comes through being liked, but the kind that comes through being seen by the one who created you. You begin to realize you don't need to be visible to be valuable. You don't need to be celebrated to be significant. You don't need the world's attention when you already have Allah's care. So you outgrow things, not out of pride, but out of peace. You let go of shallow validation because it no longer fills the depth you've discovered within. And while the loneliness still visits, you don't fear it the way you used to, because now you see it for what it is, a clearing, a making of space, a holy emptiness that's preparing you for something real, something lasting, something rooted in truth. And that's the most beautiful kind of preparation, the kind that strips you of what's loud so you can finally hear what's eternal. Bottom of form. Sign 7. When you give 100%, but finally leave the outcome to Allah. You're still showing up, still waking up for Fajr, even when sleep is heavy, still raising your hands in dua, even when your voice trembles, still placing one foot in front of the other, though you have no clear picture of where it's all going. But something has changed. You're no longer obsessed with the when, no longer measuring your worth by how fast things fall into place, no longer checking the clock or the calendar, wondering if Allah has forgotten you. And you're no longer consumed by the how either, no longer gripping the details, trying to micromanage every outcome, no longer begging for a very specific ending you once thought was the only way you'd be okay. Instead, you've handed over the pen. You've stopped rewriting what Allah has already written in hopes that your version will bring more peace. You've surrendered the timeline, not because you've stopped caring, but because you've finally started trusting. This is not passive. This is not you giving up. This is strength. This is wisdom. This is tawakkul. The kind of trust that took years to build, the kind that only grows after you've tried to control it all and watched it all slip through your fingers anyway, the kind that only comes when you realize that your striving has a place, but your surrender does too. Because effort is your responsibility, but outcome never was. You start to understand. Tawakkul isn't closing your eyes and hoping. It's doing your part with full conviction and resting your heart with full faith. It's submitting your resume and then saying, if this door is for me, let it open in ease. And if it's not, protect me from it, even if I don't understand. It's praying for marriage and then saying, unite me with someone who brings me closer to you, even if it's not the person I thought I couldn't live without. It's showing up with a heart that still desires, but no longer demands. And when you reach that point, where your effort remains but your anxiety dissolves, something in the unseen begins to shift. Doors don't just open randomly. They open with intention. They open when the soul is ready to walk through them. And often, the delay isn't punishment. It's preparation. Because had the door opened before your trust was solid, you might have entered with fear, with entitlement, with attachment to outcomes that were never meant to hold you. But now you walk with clarity. Now you wait without restlessness. Now you understand that sometimes peace doesn't come after the prayer is answered. It comes while you're still waiting. And that's the secret. Tawakkul doesn't mean you no longer want. It means you trust the one who withholds, just as much as you trust the one who gives. So yes, you're still praying, still hoping, still dreaming, but your heart is light now. Not because everything has arrived, but because you've stopped carrying the weight of making it all happen. And that's when the openings come, not always as you imagined, not always in your timing, but always with precision, always with wisdom, always in a way that makes you say, Subhanallah, this could only have been him. Bottom of form. What does it mean when Allah is about to bless you? It's not always obvious. It doesn't always come with a sudden burst of joy or a clear sign from the heavens. In fact, it often begins quietly, with a pause you didn't ask for, a chapter you didn't expect to close, or a loneliness you can't explain. It starts in the stillness, that kind of stillness that almost feels unsettling. You look around and wonder why things have slowed down, why people have drifted, why your heart feels like it's shedding layers you didn't even know you were carrying. It begins when Allah starts removing what is no longer serving your soul, the distractions, the temporary fixes, the people who pulled you away from Him, not toward Him. It starts when the noise of the world no longer satisfies, and the silence of sujood becomes your most honest place. You may feel a shift, not always external, but deep within. Suddenly your heart is more sensitive to what used to feel normal. Your soul starts craving what is eternal. You begin to feel a discomfort with the very things you used to find comfort in. And though it may confuse you, this is not regression, this is refinement. It's not punishment, it's preparation, because before Allah blesses a person, He readies them to carry that blessing, and that preparation often looks like pruning, like being emptied so you can be refilled, like being pulled back so you can be launched forward. That spiritual discomfort you feel, it's a divine signal, a spiritual fingerprint stamped upon your life to remind you, I'm working on something within you and through you that you can't yet see. So don't rush the process. Don't resent the pause. Don't try to shortcut what was meant to grow you, because the longer the blessing takes, the more customized it is for the person you're becoming. Sometimes the blessing is delayed not because you're unworthy of it, but because the current version of you can't hold it yet. Allah, in His mercy, waits until your hands are strong enough, your intentions are pure enough, your perspective is wide enough, your trust is deep enough. And yes, it might feel like everyone else is moving ahead, their lives are unfolding, their doors are opening, and here you are, faithful, patient, but still waiting. But you must remember, what's unfolding for them was never meant to rush what's unfolding for you. Comparison will only steal the clarity of your own path, because what Allah has written for you is not just coming, it's being tailored with divine precision to match not just your desires, but your mission, your healing, your legacy. So, if even one part of this resonates with your heart, the stillness, the separation, the inner shifts, then maybe you're not stuck, maybe you're not late, maybe you're right on schedule, according to a timeline that's better than your own. And when that blessing does arrive, you'll realize it didn't just come to you. It came through you, through all the nights you chose patience over panic, surrender over control, and growth over comfort. This is what it means to be prepared by Allah, not just to receive the blessing, but to become someone who carries it with grace, purpose, and gratitude. Comment this dua below. Ya Allah, prepare me for the blessing before you send it, and make it something that brings me closer to you. If this message touched your heart, share it. You never know. This might be the moment someone else's soul was waiting for. May Allah comfort you, carry you, and crown you with something far beyond what you asked for. Ameen.